My grandfather, came over from Russia, couldn't speak English and couldn't read and write, and learned all that, and was pretty entrepreneurial and had his 3 sons, and so he started delivering ice in the south end of Boston, Harrison Avenue, because that's where they lived, and horse and buggy. And what ended up happening is, over time people would say, Mr. Goldman, while you're moving that ice, could you take some furniture for me? And it morphed into a moving and storage company, and they were on, we went through a couple of different places. They were, the Herald is right now, on 1 Herald Square, was our first location, next to a taxi company. And then they moved to Humboldt Avenue, which in the 30s and 40s was a very predominantly Jewish neighborhood. And so the name Humboldt was taken up. It used to be H. Goldman Incorporated because my grandfather was Harry Goldman. And then when they got to Humboldt Ave, people associated them with Humboldt Avenue, and that's where the name came from. One interesting thing about my father was a Depression baby. My grandfather almost lost everything in the Depression like everybody else, and so my father grew up working 7 days a week, 365 days a year. In fact, when I grew up, I never saw my father, even on weekends. He was working, and as soon as I was old enough, I became another piece of equipment for my father. He would literally come in at 5:30 every morning, pull down my covers, pull up my shades, and pull me out of bed and tell me we were going to work. And literally, when I wasn't in school, I was working 7 days a week, because that's how he did it. And I mean, my father had me do everything. I swept floors, I checked in furniture, I worked in the warehouse, I packed, I loaded, I drove truck. Eventually, I came into the office and did sales, I dispatched, I did the long distance and local dispatching, and eventually went out and did some selling, and then took over actually running the company. But there wasn't a day that, even when I was running the company, that my father, who at the time was 75 and still on the trucks, wouldn't say, let's go, you're on the trucks, let's get the job done. Yeah, even though we've been in business for 104 years, one of the things we make sure we don't become a victim of is complacency. Just because we've been around a long time, we're a 3rd-generation family business, doesn't mean that we don't think that we can do it better. And our people are trained to fight complacency. We don't take anything for granted. I've said this before. I tell our people all the time, our last move could literally be our last move. Just because we did a great job in the past doesn't mean that going forward we're guaranteed. And so all our employees understand the importance of servicing the customer and making sure that we take care of their very need. And we live the brand. I mean, it took us a couple of years to come up with the, relax and get moving, and the whole idea about taking out stress. And our whole employee team has bought into that concept. They understand that our job is to make it easy for the customer and to make sure that they don't have stress. So whether it's, our receptionist answering the phone within 3 rings and making sure that somebody on the phone doesn't have to wait, to getting a call over to our customer service team or our sales team, they make sure they get back to the customer. And then once we promise to do the service, that we show up on time, we do like we promised, we're within the pricing that we told, and when we deliver it, we're there to make sure all the pieces go back together. And I think we do that really well.